We're going to be ready to go live in about 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's Eric, right? Is that Eric
Yep.
Yes,
speaking?
that's me.
That's
Okay,
boss.
hi, Eric.
Hello.
I figured you were there.
Momentarily.
You're on.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Eric.
Oh, he's at home, I guess. Yeah, nobody's at church.
I'm actually in Mississippi. I'm visiting. my
Whoa.
mom.
Mississippi.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to mute myself and we're going to go live here in just a second.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just get this. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made.
Well, welcome everyone. This is a new experience, isn't it? Being home and Zooming, but seeing all of you on here. I'm going to see if I can, how many I can see on here. I don't know how this is all working, but I'm going to assume that everything is going forward. I want to welcome you on this last Sunday before Christmas as we gather together to do what we do best, and that is to love each other, serve each other, and be one in spirit. And I'm so happy that some of you have joined, and it's unfortunate in a way, but not unfortunate when you know that all things work together for good, that we could not meet today at our center and do technical. So I'm going to go ahead. And today we want to welcome, as I said, welcome all of you. And the order of the service will be a little different, but we are going to have the introduction, the daily word, the affirmations like we always do. And we also be celebrating happy or joy the last Sunday of Advent. We'll have some announcements, and our meditation song will be Silent Night on page 270. I'll be leading the meditation, and Phil is with us to do the sermon for today, or the talk for today. We'll have the offering. The closing song will be We Wish You a Merry Christmas. That seems appropriate since we won't be meeting next week. And also Love is the Only Answer, and our prayer for protection. So with that, I'm just going to go right into our affirmations, which is there is only one presence, one power, one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And can you join me? There is only one presence, one power, one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And it's so wonderful to affirm this for you as well when we say, there is only one presence, one power, one love active in your life, God the good, omnipotent. And together, there is only one presence, one power, one love active in your life, God the good, omnipotent. And as this joy season spreads across our land, we say, there is only one presence, one power, one love active in the world today, God the good, omnipotent. Together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in the world today, God the good, omnipotent. And there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in this ministry, God the good, omnipotent. And together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in this ministry, God the good, omnipotent. And through the miracle of spirit, I want to move into this being the last Sunday of Advent. And to me, it's just a miracle that here at my home, I still have a sprig of the wreath that was brought the first Sunday by Suzanne. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for bringing that. And it's just kind of a miracle that here I actually have some candles to share with you. We have faith and hope from our first week. And we have love, which is burning very dimly, but it is lit. And we have love that we can share in the culmination of all these wonderful Advent Sundays. And then we have the peace candle, and I just happen to have these. And so I'm going to go ahead and light the last candle. I don't have one that says joy, but I have one that says happy. So happy is going to be the new word for joy. So I trust that all of you have candles and you have enjoyed all of the stories we've heard about the wonderful time of Advent, where we look forward to the birth of Christ. And we know in unity that Christ is within us, that he has birthed himself in our lives and does so every day. Every day we awaken, we know that the Christ Spirit is within all of us. And that brings me great joy. With that in mind, I think I'll go ahead and read the daily word. And the word is joy, or today's happy. Joyfully, I celebrate my oneness with God. As the three wise men followed the star to Bethlehem to greet the newborn child, I follow my inner light and discover the Christ within. As I approach the conclusion of Advent season, I realize that this, rather than material goods or creature comforts, is the source of my joy. The Christ within is the part of me that is always one with God, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresence. When I face challenging times, I can draw from that inner wellspring of joy, my foundation of irrepressible strength and fortitude. I have within me the power to overcome any challenge. This day, this moment, I am joy-filled, and I celebrate the overflowing blessings of my divinity. I celebrate the overflowing blessings of my identity in divinity. And from Matthew chapter 2, verse 10, I read, when they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. Matthew 2:10. Isn't that beautiful? And with that in mind, let's sing our first song, which is Joy to the World on page 280.
270.
Excuse me.
Wait.
No, 280.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Ben's helping me here. And since we don't have Sharon this week, we're just going to pretend like we're all Mennonites and sing a cappella. So you're welcome to join in as Ben and I sing with you. Joy to the world.
Joy to the world,
The Lord is come.
let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills, and plains repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat, repeat
the sounding joy.
He rules the world
with truth and grace,
and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness
and wonders of his love,
and wonders of his love and wonders and wonders
of his love. Well, thank you, Ben. I hope all of you at home joined in on that wonderful, wonderful song. And I'll go into a few announcements here. We are announcing that next Sunday we will not have a service, but in the e-blast, there is a list of other services that are available for you to join on Zoom if you care to. And then on January 1st, Marty will be back with Claudia and Suzanne, who will have the service, and we'll be doing the burning bowl ceremony as well. We want to remember our dear and beloved friend Eric, who has traveled to Mississippi to be with his mother for the holidays. And when he got there, his brother had a heart attack and had to have open heart surgery. I think a 4-way bypass. So Eric, we honor you in the midst of all of this family drama that you're able to be with us today and help us host this service. Thank you so much for all of you who work so hard to make all of this come together. And I don't have any books to show you, but Phil's books are always for sale when we are there in person. But I think that's the announcements I have for now. Be sure to watch the e-blast as it's sent out because things are changing and we need to keep you abreast of what's going on. And that's the best way to do that. And now we'll turn to page 270 and sing our meditation song, which is Silent Night.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight, glory streams from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah, Christ the Savior is born, Christ the Savior is born. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth, Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Holy light, perfect light, Christ of God, oh, how bright doth thy spirit shine always, healing, blessing man each day, with thy heavenly love, with thy heavenly love.
No, we really can't darken the lights, but I will go into my meditation and know that this is indeed a most blessed season to join together on Zoom on this particular Sunday. We invite each of you, wherever you are, to relax during this busy season. Let your to-do list be by the wayside as you center yourself in this moment, at this time. As you take in a deep breath, you might even smell some of the aromas that accompany this time in your own homes. As you breathe in more deeply, you're aware that breath is something that we have always. That it's not through faith and hope, but through love and joy and peace and all of the gifts of the Holy Spirit that have come to us this season. And as you relax your shoulders and relax your body in whatever way is comfortable with you, I want you to imagine going to the Christmas tree in your mind. It may or may not have ornaments. It may or may not have lights, but there are gifts under that tree. And you get to go pick out whatever gift you need today. It may be the gift of peace, the peace that passes all understanding. It may be the gift of love, for love is the answer to all of our questions. It may be hope, hope that this next year will bring you more peace and joy than you have ever had as you trust the Christ Spirit to lead you every step of the day. With all of these gifts, let's take time to sit in the silence. Choose the gift that you want most. Maybe you want one, maybe you want two, maybe you want all of them. They're all yours and are freely given. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment as you think about all of these gifts that have been made available through this Christmas spirit. And as you leave that beautiful scene, I don't know about you, but I could not just choose one gift. They're all so wonderful. We're so fortunate to know this. We're so fortunate to share this joy. And one of the best gifts today for me is getting to hear Phil Pearson speak again. So I'm going to open my eyes and look for seeing Phil on the screen. Thank you, Phil, for coming and being with us today.
As I join you, I find myself wanting to, first of all, acknowledge Eric for the wonderful job he's done of bringing us all together, in a sense, from all over the country. And also to bless Eric and his family in meeting their personal needs. I'm very grateful to be with you on what is the last Sunday in Advent this year, and to remind you that the meaning of Advent is coming. That Advent is a part of the traditional church in celebrating the coming of Jesus' birth, and then in their mind, the coming of Jesus again on earth. From our unity appreciation and celebration of the Advent, however, we don't follow with the traditional church in the thought that Jesus is going to come again, and that our celebration of the coming is something from our perspective that is more amazing and wonderful. And that is, we celebrate together the wonderful truth that the Spirit of God literally lives within us, that is the Christ of our being. It isn't Jesus within us, but it is the Christ Spirit, this idea in the mind of God that is a reflection of his own nature. You know, as I think I've shared with you before, I live in a retirement community now, and we always have our meals together. At least we can stay up in our own rooms, where we all have little kitchens, or we can join the group. And most recently, I was sitting at a table with a woman whom I had not met before, and I shared with her that I was in the ministry. And so she said, "What church is that? Or what church are you with?" And I said, "I'm with Unity." And she said, "Well, what do they teach?" And I found myself saying, the biggest difference between our approach and the traditional church is that we believe that Jesus did not come to die for our sins primarily, but he came to be an example for all of us. That Jesus was a reflection of God's purpose and idea to let us know that God's Spirit indwells us, and therefore we're capable of limitless capacities to live, to be, to overcome. And so when I said this to her, that's our difference. We don't believe Jesus came to die for our sins, but rather to give us an example. She looked at me and she said it with great emphasis. She said, "Jesus came to save me from my sins." That's what I believe. And I knew it was time to change the subject, but I mention that only because that is such a strong part of the traditional church. And part of the gift that Unity has to give to the world is to bring in this other appreciation. The real joy of Advent is the joy of knowing that the Spirit of God and the potentials of God are within us. Last week, I shared with you visually, you couldn't see it, but I shared a book that's in my library. It's 600 pages of writing and another 150 pages of indexing. It was done by the brilliant Michael Murphy. And this book contains limitless expressions of, he doesn't use this terminology, but of our capabilities would be his thought. And I would say expression of the God gifts that are within us. And he must cover most of the fields of human experience today in helping us to know in this book that we are living, and this is his own language, he said, we're living beneath our potentials. Humanity is living beneath our potentials. He gives us example after example from different areas of human experience, showing how people are exceeding what's ever been done before in any area of life. And as he says, this is an evolutionary process that is taking place that is going to lead us into a whole new kind of being. Now, in our Unity terminology, we would say this evolution that is taking place of people's advancing in every area of life into a more better way of living is an indication of what life is all supposed to be, that it is evolving to the fulfillment of that Christ presence that is within us. It is a matter of bringing it into expression. It's all there. We just have to learn to bring it forth. I think that in life, the challenges that often come to us are an indication that this is an area in our life that we need to discover for ourselves, that we have a potential to meet it. And in some cases, if there are challenges, to overcome the challenge that we have. So as I think of this Christ presence within us, I don't know, no, I'll say, with all my being, I would like to emphasize for all of us today, this isn't about something in the Bible, something that some minister in Unity says from time to time. This is a reality. We're talking about each one of us, that we have this Christ presence. And when we are challenged in life, it's usually in that area that we are meant, our souls are being inwardly guided to meet the challenge by drawing on the incredible capabilities that are within us. I think the most common challenge we all have is in the area of healing. And that's why in Michael Murphy's book, this huge tome that I have, he has quite a bit of evidence that we all have the opportunity or the capability of healing our bodies. That's a built-in capability that we have. Our prayer work is not so much that we be healed, but that we be made aware of that which within us can allow us to heal and to overcome the physical challenge that we are having. At this point in thinking what I wanted to share with you, I found myself thinking, I don't think I've ever told you that when I left Reno a couple of years ago, I moved down to rent my nephew's house in Surprise, Arizona. And it seemed like a very good idea for me at that time. And so there I was. I arrived in Surprise, Arizona, just about the week that almost everybody living in the neighborhood where I was renting my nephew's home, everybody was leaving because they're snowbirds. That's what they call them there. They only are down there for the winter. Well, summer was at hand, so everybody was going back to their other home. And so when I would walk down the street of my neighborhood, I was the only one in it. It was sort of a lonely feeling when you're used to being surrounded with people, as I've been in the past. So anyway, I was down there, let's say about 3 months, maybe longer. And one time as I was getting ready to go to bed one night, I slipped off my bed. I was working at the bed, and the next thing I found myself on the ground. And lo and behold, when I went to get myself up, I didn't suddenly have the strength to get up. Well, thanks to my niece, who insisted that I wear, living alone like I was, that I have one of those buttons you could push. And so I pushed the button, and of course it works the way it's supposed to. And next thing I know, the ambulance was there at my home, and I was carted off to the hospital. And I still can remember when the doctor came in and said, well, surprise, he said, you have low-grade pneumonia. I said, pneumonia? That really struck me as an odd thing, because every time I'd open the front door at our home, it would hit me, the hot air would hit me, and we were having 112-degree temperatures at that time. I thought, how could I have pneumonia? So consequently, after I left Arizona and moved back up here where I'm now to Reno, I would tell the story of this experience that I shared with you, and I would always laugh and say, can you imagine how anybody could get pneumonia in Arizona where the temperatures are running as high as 112 at that time? I mean, that can't happen. And anyway, we'd laugh about it. And then one day, I pulled a book out of my library, which I had for years, and I thought, oh, I haven't read that in a long time. I picked it up, and it's called The Will to Live by Dr. Arnold Hutschnecker. And Dr. Hutschnecker was a very well-known physician. His clientele were mostly the very upper scale in New York City, people who were stars in the music hall, different presentations in drama in the city. He was respected amongst his own physicians for his capability and the sharing that he had of his ideas. However, there was one idea that made him stand out that he encompassed in the book, The Will to Live. What he said in this book was that people don't die by accident. They all die by their own decision. Now, that's a lesson of itself. I just shared that much to say that's a whole new thought. But in reading this book, I came to a part of it where he was saying that many people who are basically strong all their lives, people of good health, will suddenly make their transition, their passing, their death, and they will do it with pneumonia. I looked at that and what? And because he's talking about people make their own decision to die, and I got thinking about it, and I thought, you know, I remember now. I had been down there in Surprise for a while. It was hot as all get out. I had made contact with the union ministers down there, and somehow it just didn't click for me. And so I had begun to feel after a period of months that this was not my place. And then I began to ruminate, I guess would be the word, on the fact that I was 90 degrees. I was 90 years old at that time. And I thought to myself, well, dear God, maybe I've invested enough time in this incarnation. Maybe it's time to move on. And I can say that to you just one sentence, but in many different ways, I found myself going to sleep at night with that thought in the forefront of my mind that maybe it was time for me to move on. And then lo and behold, I slipped off the bed and went into that experience of having pneumonia, which for some people could have led to their death. But in my particular case, as a Unity student, the time I woke up and I realized I really am sick, it's time to go to work, do something about it. And I got well very quickly. But in the book, The Will to Live, he mentions this idea that people make their own decision to do this, and they often make the transition from pneumonia. And I found myself thinking, you know, that wonderful, gosh, I entertained him. I interviewed him for our television program. Jack LaLanne is who I want to think of. Jack LaLanne was an incredible expression of physical fitness. Some of you will remember he used to, on occasion, he has been known to pull a barge full of people in San Francisco Bay and take them across the bay where he was pulling it by swimming power. Man of incredible strength, never sick. And he had his own television work and everything about how to be well and whole. But out of the blue, when he was, I think he was the young age of 92, out of the blue, he made his transition. He had been perfectly well the day before, but the next day he made his transition. And you know what he made it from? Pneumonia. I thought, wow, that seems to be a somewhat confirmation of my experience, is that it didn't pass. And who is it? There was another one that I wanted to share with you, darn it. Another well-known person. Well, I can't bring it up right now, but another one, a person that you wouldn't think or expect because they were an expression of such great. Oh, I know who it was. It was Sai Baba. Sai Baba, the wonderful mystic and yogi, who was so famous because he emulated most of the things that Jesus done, and some I've never heard of Jesus doing. Like he could manifest things out of the sand. If you were sitting with him, as a friend of mine did once, and he was sitting with Sai Baba on the beach, and Sai Baba just began to move the sand, and he pulled up a ring out of the sand, and it had my friend's name in it and his birth date written in it. And so Sai Baba was an incredible musician. He could appear many places. He did healing for people. Anyway, when I read about his life story, it said that he passed, I think he was 88, something like that. He said he passed, and he passed from pneumonia. And I thought, whoa, that really expresses that pattern, that when people really within themselves at a very strong level make the decision that their work is over, they've done enough, they take themselves out. And in our case, in the examples I gave, was pneumonia, but there are many other ways to do that. So I got into Dr. Hutchnecker's work and the idea of people making the decision to make their transition, really to confirm the relationship that every one of us has to our body. Our body is literally created by us, by the indwelling consciousness that each one of us has of self. And of course, a spirit that we're attempting to draw into our constant awareness, that Christ presence. So why am I saying this? I am saying this because I want to help us. I'm speaking to myself. I give myself these lectures quite often. And I'm saying to us today, we need to take so seriously these capacities that we have. Like Michael Murphy says, they are beyond our normalcy in terms of people don't use it, but it's there. And those who do use it on occasion and have wonderful healings, wonderful prosperity, wonderful outworkings in whatever area they go, are people who, for one reason or another, express the ability to use these capacities that we have. When you and I'm talking about healing, as I said earlier, because I think it's the most common thing, that we have an opportunity to exceed ourselves, to prove this capacity that is within us, to set things straight or to make things happen the way they should happen for good in our lives. So when we find ourselves in this incredible need, I don't think incredible is the right word, but when we find that we have a healing need, we need to immediately think, who's the best person to work on that? Me. Why me? Two reasons. One, I caused the challenge. My consciousness. Bugs don't get me. I invite bugs in. And I won't expand that, but I think most of you as a Unity student are aware of that aspect of truth about our being. But when we realize that we shape and form our bodies, a living center of consciousness that begins with the very beginning of the child in the mother's womb, we build our body. We build it according to a pattern that is common to humanity, but we are the builder. Our energy, our unconscious sense of divinity builds that infant body into a human being. And then as we move through life, we are constantly either supporting, maintaining, or attacking our own bodies by the thoughts that we hold in consciousness. And I know as a Unity student, most of you say, oh yeah, right on, I got it. But today's lesson is that we are so joy-filled with the capacity of the Christ that we're going to celebrate at Christmas that's within all of us, that we make use of it. I ran across something in Murphy's huge book here that I want to share with you, because it's a quote of a poem by Rumi. As many of you know, Rumi is a Persian mystic and a poet known worldwide. I'd say probably he's one of the most well-known people in the whole field of philosophy and poetry for sure, and of spirituality. In any event, this is what Rumi wrote, and this is a poem. Wine in ferment is a beggar suing for our ferment. Heaven in revolution is a beggar suing for our consciousness. Wine was intoxicated with us, not we with it. The body came into being from us, not we from it. We are as bees and bodies as the honeycomb. We have made the body cell by cell like wax. And I love that. I sort of immediately got the picture of a little bee buzzing around, on the honeycomb and doing its work. And as Rumi is poetically saying, we're like little bees in consciousness, buzzing around without realizing it. We're building this body temple of ours, just like the bee makes the honey and the honeycomb. We're so busy with our thoughts. The question for us as our Unity students, and what we joyfully celebrate in the birth of Jesus and the recognition of the Christ of our own Christ being, is that we can do something about everything in the repair and maintenance of our body temples. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I always like that particular quote only because it says, as a man says in his heart. And as all of you who heard me, I'm sure, last Sunday, know that I say there's a difference between the heart and the brain. The author of that statement that we quote so often did not make a distinction between the brain and the heart, but you and I can now, because we know all the intellectual processes of our being takes place in the brain. And that is not the source of our healing power. The source is our heart, because this is where we feel, this is where the strength of our creative capacities is. So I love the word, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's such an incredible thing that we have the capacity to heal ourselves instantly. Some of us have worked with this enough that we've had wonderful healings. Most often they happen rather gradually, but sometimes rapidly, but potentially it can be instantly. That's been proved by, again, the accredited, the 150 pages in the back are all the accreditation. Who are the doctors? Who said this? And it confirms it intellectually, all the facts that people, for instance, who went to Lourdes would often just sit for a moment on the edge of the pool and suddenly, whoop, something miraculous with like a tumor would just suddenly shrink. Can be instantaneously. So great is our capacity to change this honeycomb of body temple that we're building with consciousness. I think that when I was rereading in Murphy's book about the work at Lourdes, I found myself thinking, one of the great advantages that people had when they went to all the trouble, all the expense of going to Lourdes, they had an expectation. They lived with an excitement and the joy of going to Lourdes. I have an expectation of being healed. In Murphy's book, again, he makes a comparison between faith, believing, and expectation. They're all really quite same. I think I said he makes a point of the difference. It is the sameness that he sees in those words. When we talk about faith expressed in the Bible, we're still really talking about what are the states of expectation as expressed in the Bible. It's as we work with principles like we're working with today, reminding ourselves of their reality, that we are making a contribution to our ability to sometime live with an expectation of healing. And remember, this applies to all areas of our lives, like prosperity or human relationships. But I'm concentrating on healing today because I think it's the one that we most commonly get involved in, that we need to use our capacities. And so as we're working with this now, I'm giving thanks that every time we have an opportunity to be reminded, as I'm doing for us today, or you do it through your own reading, your own prayer time, you're helping to build an spirit of the expectation of healing or prosperity, or whatever area of your life. But mainly I think of healing today, as I say, because it's at the center core of our lives, especially as we mature in our years of living. We need to deal with this business of maintaining our health. We do it by expecting it in the first place. You know, again, I have a lot to talk about these days because I live in this retirement community that everybody has to be at least 55. I said the average age is probably in the 70s, early 80s. And you have a lot of opportunity to see some of these things that we're talking about so obviously in expression. When you listen to table conversation, I suddenly think, well, were you at the table when, as I was about to say, you hear them just talking about all the negatives in the world, and in a way they love to tell you what their latest illness is and what the doctor said, blah, 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 blah. And you realize this is, they are helping without knowing it. They're helping to build in the fact that the illness is real. But in truth, the illness isn't real. The only thing that can possibly be real or manifest in your life is what you believe about it. It is, it's such an education. I say, dear God, now why am I in this particular, what am I to learn in this particular period of my life and living in this retirement community, which I say is very positive. In general, all my meals are furnished. I have a lovely apartment, incredible view. I have companionship always. So there's so much is here, but it does have some of the challenges that I mentioned, like confirming our sickness all the time. And of course, it's from my standpoint, it becomes a positive because it makes me affirm more and more, as I sometimes dare to say, because I'm not in the work of or the life of trying to confront my table friends with my particular belief of life. It doesn't make for good friendship. But I sometimes just want to say, stop. Nothing's happening to you. It's happening through you. I have the feeling that even as I say that to you today, it's a challenge. It's a challenge when you suddenly come up with something that's a physical challenge in your body. And we tend to think of it as a negative thing that is happening to us, when actually, again, as I say over and over, it is us acting upon our bodies, and it's telling us something. And that's one of the positives about all your illness. It's really trying to tell you something. So on this last Sunday of being a part of celebrating the coming of Jesus, our example for what we're all capable of being, I affirm again for all of us that as true students, as Unis, we're big enough to know that nobody's making anything happen to you when you have a health challenge. It's only you talking to yourself. That you talk, first of all, to the body to create a condition, and then it's telling you, and you can do something about it. Not only can you get yourself well, but in the process, you will be able to learn, why did you get sick? What were the energies of thought that you put into your body that produced the illness? And when you do that and learn about that, then you grow and you become bigger for it. Your life becomes richer and more wonderful. I have the feeling that this is a very special Christmas for humankind. I give thanks that you join with me in pouring your unity convictions and love for humanity forth, that all may feel your inner joy this Christmas time. God bless you all. Thanks for having me with you.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Phil. That was just wonderful for both Ben and I. And as most of you know, I would love to put this talk on my group in Facebook, because healing is available to all of us, and we do not have to buy into the idea that as we get older, it is normal or even to be expected. And through unity and this wonderful way of thinking, we can realize that what we think about, we bring about. I love it. Thank you so much, Bill. And as the time gets closer to the end, I want all of you who are able to send in your love offerings to continue to do so. We bless you in all of the ways that you do contribute to this ministry so that we can continue. And this is just a wonderful time. And in closing, I want us to have a happy song since Christmas is coming and sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." And I don't think there's any music to this either, Ben, but we'll just wish all of you a wonderful Christmas, and may your new year be happy as you join together again on January 1st in person. So shall we just sing it, Ben? Come a little closer. Okay. We
wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And we'll conclude with singing "Love is the Only Answer." And I think Eric can boom that up for us.
Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, love, heart. See our circle grow. Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, love, heart. See our circle grow. Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, love, heart. See our circle grow.
And Ben, would you lead the prayer of protection?
The light of God
God
surrounds
surrounds
us. The love of God enfolds us.
Controls us, the power
of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us.
over us.
Wherever we are,
are,
God
God is, and all is well.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Oh, hello.
Oh, this is funny. Hi, Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie.
Hi, guys.
Hi, all. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Lillian.
Merry
Oh,
Christmas,
wonderful
everyone.
to see you.
Catherine, are you traveling?
Oh,
Christmas
okay.
and a happy new year.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, we need it now.
Mary.
Wonderful.
Hey,
Mary.
bye,
Oh,
Jackie.
Claudia. Hi,
Bye,
Claudia.
everybody. Love you so much.